So hello, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Ashley Rumschlag with domesticshelters.org, and I'm joined by Rita Smith, an internationally recognized expert on domestic violence and an advisor for domesticshelters.org. Today, we're going to take a look at the Netflix original series, Maid, and share our commentary. We're going to talk about the nuances that people who maybe aren't as familiar with domestic violence and the complexities that go along with it, but the things that you might miss when you're watching this show. And we're going to share our thoughts on whether we think this is an accurate depiction of domestic violence, or if there's some things that maybe don't go along with things in reality. So we'll go ahead and go through the entire episode, scene by scene. So if you haven't watched it already and don't want any spoilers, go ahead and hit pause, go back, watch it on your own, and then come back once you've finished watching the first episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and watch the opening scene.
We're going to shoot later, my girl. We're going to shoot later. Shh.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, where are you going? Hey, where are you?
Okay, we'll go ahead and pause there. That look on her face as she's lying in the dark, waiting for him to fall asleep. You're holding your breath. We don't know what's going on at this point, but we just know that we don't want him to wake up. What do you think is going through her mind at that moment?
Well, my guess is what's going through her mind, and what went through my mind actually is having talked to a number of different survivors where sleep deprivation was one of the things that they dealt with constantly. Their fear of falling asleep because they wouldn't know what he was going to be doing if they did. So it made them really feel vulnerable. The fact that she continued to watch him meant that she was trying to set up a path for her to get out of the house without waking him up. So she lifted her head a little bit first to see if he was jarred by that, and then she slowly got out of the bed. And so I think that that a couple different things came to my mind having talked to survivors. One is that first part where they're constantly on alert, even trying to stay awake because they're so afraid of what's going to happen if they're not conscious.
But knowing what you know about domestic violence, why is this such a dangerous moment?
Because the most dangerous time for any victim of domestic violence is when they decide to leave, and whether they're in the actual act of leaving or the abuser finds out they're going to leave. So it doesn't have to be actually catching her walking out the door. It could be that the abuser figures out she's put plans in place, she's stashed money aside, that kind of thing. So so it really escalates the level of violence. And I was, throughout that whole scene, I was waiting for him to show up at some point and grab her, so
Yeah.
so they laid some really interesting emotional energy into that, just that scene of her getting out the door.
All right. So we open up here and we start to see kind of the barriers that she's coming up against, because she's now completely vulnerable to the world, and she's out of gas. She has very little money. We know that in 99% of abuse cases, abusers have financially abused their partners. So let's talk about that here, the different barriers that she's facing here.
Well, number one, she's alone. It's at night. We don't know yet if she has some place to go that's safe. And he's already trying to track her. So the text messages that are popping up on the screen, and he's already in the gaslighting phase of you're overreacting. He's just, he's wanting us to forget the fact that we saw her walk by broken items on the floor and the hole in the wall as she picked up her daughter getting out of the house. So he's already wanting to tell us that this was not a big deal, and she's just being a drama queen kind of thing. And that's exactly how abusers get a leverage even when law enforcement show up, because they're able to reframe things in a way that makes them look, I just had a bad day kind of thing. And she's running for her life.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it comes back to this idea that, he's losing power and control over her. And so his next tactic is to minimize and divert her attention to make it seem like what happened wasn't as bad as she knows it was.
Yeah. And the fact that she had so little money that she was able to leave on, it's always best if you can put a stash together so that you have some time to think. But taking the opportunity when it comes is the best step. Finding a way to fill those coffers later with whatever resources are available in the community. That's what as advocates, our goal is to help people do. We want people to be safe first and foremost. So if that's the time you can get out the door, and we'll find a way to get you the money you need.
I'm gonna find us someplace to sleep. Where's Matt?
Alex.
God, thank God you're here. Hi. I'm sorry to just barge in like this. I called you and you didn't pick up, and I just didn't know where else to go.
What's wrong? Are you okay? It's not Maddie, is it?
No, Maddie and I just need a place to crash for tonight. Is that okay? Can I crash here with you until I figure out what I'm doing?
God, of course, always. Get in here.
Are the guys from the Swan here?
Yeah.
Hey, glad I heard your voice. Come inside, we got some sick dank from Humboldt.
Gotta get it going. Yeah, okay, all right, pass it.
Next time.
Alex, come on. Look, he's already on his way over. He knows he drank too much. Just hear the man out. He just wants to talk. Don't be a bitch.
Ethan!
Hey, sorry.
Hey, I'm good. I'm all right. It's okay. It's okay.
Got someplace else to go?
Okay.
All right. So you see the friend open the door and you just kind of get the sense of, oh goodness, she has a friend, she has somewhere to go, she has more safe. And then things quickly turn when we realized the connection that they have to the abuser.
Yeah, and that their goal is to, especially him, is to help her get over herself, kind of thing. That, yeah, he knows he drank too much, kind of stuff. It's really already he's buying into the minimizing of the behavior, and so now she doesn't have the ally she thought she had. And while I think her girlfriend was more supportive, um, her getting in that car and driving away was probably her best choice. Not just that he was on his way over, but that they might, she might have been in an environment that started to feed that gaslighting behavior that the abuser engages in, and he knew where to go to isolate her. He knew the place that she might go first, and so that's the place he cut her off from. So now she's got to find another option, and that's part of the whole series of obstacles that are in place when someone tries to really get free from violence. There's a committed effort on the part of the abuser to make you fail.
Absolutely. And do you really think that the abuser's friends and family, who we haven't obviously been introduced to, but do you think that they think he's a dangerous person?
I think probably not. I mean, because they don't see the breadth of violence that and tactics and coercive controlling behaviors that this person usually engages in. They might see once in a while some fights. They might see him shove her once in a while, but they're not going to see the hole punched in the wall. That's not going to happen at somebody else's house. They're not going to see the trashing of items that are near and dear to someone's heart, as a way to control them and to cause them pain. So most people uh, don't want to believe the level of violence that someone they know can be engaged in. But the reality is, you don't understand what kinds of things people can be capable of if their goal is to control another human being.
Let's get it.
Russell.
Russell, coming.
So you're looking for a big fat government handout because you are a jobless, white trash piece of shit. Am I right?
What?
Your form? You gonna give that to me?
Yes.
All right. Child in your lap? She's Maddie. What?
It's a Ariel that we got from a dollar store, so we call her Schmariel.
Are you the child's legal guardian?
Yes.
Can you prove that?
I could show you my stretch marks.
Are you currently under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
Are you sure? Because you look strung out.
Nope. We slept in the car last night, so
So you're homeless.
no. No, I wouldn't say that.
So you have a home.
I had a home and then we left it. Maddie's dad just, he drinks and, he blacks out and punches stuff.
This is some kind of fucking fairy tale, Alex.
Punches you?
No,
Punches Maddie?
no, just last night was different and I got scared.
Did you file a police report?
No.
Do you want to call the cops now? It's not too late.
And say what, that he didn't hit me?
Well, there's shelters for domestic violence victims, but you need to go on record with your abuse.
I'm not abused.
Okay, hon. So according to you, you're not abused and you're not homeless. Why are you here?
We don't have anywhere to sleep tonight.
What about Mom? It says here she's local.
I would rather sleep in my car.
Dad?
My family's not an option.
Are you currently employed?
Nope.
Says here you went to 6 different high schools.
Yeah, my mom moved around a lot, and then eventually I got my GED in 2016.
I mean, college, technical schools.
I got into college, but I didn't go.
Is there anything that you can give me? Any special skills?
No.
All right, here's the deal. I need 2 pay stubs in order to get you on the list for subsidized housing, and even then, the wait list is long. In the meantime, there's a mission over at St. Carmel's, and they usually have beds open.
I can't take Maddie there.
Sure you can. Get there early. Where Deet?
I'm sorry, is there anything else that you could actually do for us here, please?
Honestly, without a job, I can't do squat.
Okay, I can't get a job if I can't afford daycare.
Well, we have access to subsidized daycare grants once you have a job.
I need a job to prove that I need daycare in order to get a job? What kind of fuckery is that?
You know what? Why don't you try this?
Value Maids.
It's a local cleaning service, a lot of turnover, worth a shot. Call them, tell them you're on the way.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
Can I bring Maddie?
To a job interview.
But it's a really, excuse me, really critical moment that can make or break a survivor. Prior to the scene, she was sleeping in her car, a police officer directed her to social services. I was really grateful that she was brave enough to even take that step. I have to imagine having Maddie in her arms, encourage that, because she knew that she needed to get her fed and get her a place to sleep. But we hear her inner dialogue, which is really jarring at the beginning. We hear her in her mind, hear the social worker say, I'll say it back. So you're looking for a big fat government handout because you're a jobless white trash piece of shit. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the perception that's, maybe in her mind. Maybe that's something that Sean or another abuser in her life put in her head.
Well, it may also be coming from her family history. We get a little information about the fact that she went to so many different high schools because her mom moved around a lot, right? And so there's something there about her own personal value as seen by other people. That she's had some kind of feedback about that. And so the thing that I don't want to have people lose here at all is, while this is absolutely clearly the way that survivors have to go to try to take care of themselves, the amount of strength that it's taken for her to get to this point is incredible. And survivors need to really keep hold of that part of themselves, because it's amazing what she's been able to do right now. And so that means that she's capable of a lot, but there's a lot in her way. And so over the course of our watching this, we will see places where she may fall down, or she may stop, or she may give up. But I just want people to come back to that point where, she took a breath, she got out of that bed, she took a breath, she drove away, she took a breath, she drove away from her friend's house, she slept in her car. Somebody gave her a long shot option. She didn't know it was long shot at the time, but she took a breath and she did that. So I think that as people are watching this, they need to really understand that every step of the way, she's going to find things in the way of her getting out, staying out, and thriving as a survivor.
Yeah, and there are a lot of common barriers that we see play out here. I'm just going to kind of read them off and we can chat about them. A need for legal documents. People leave in a hurry. They don't grab their driver's license, birth certificate, things of that nature. He didn't hit her, so there's no way to prove the abuse. She doesn't consider herself to be abused. I'm going to pause on this one because this is the line that just absolutely broke my heart and stuck with me when watching this episode, because that's, one of the biggest things that domesticshelters.org tries to do is to help people understand, to use that term abuse, to understand that is what they're experiencing. And it's heartbreaking to know that had she had the language to say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is abuse. She could have reached out to domestic violence shelters. I kept wanting the social worker to pull out a power and control wheel and just kind of walk her through that and say, okay, this is abuse. What are your thoughts on that piece?
Well, there's a couple of things that the social worker said that I don't think are absolutely true in every state, and so I want people to understand that you don't have to file a police report to get help. You don't have to do that, and you can file a police report based on destruction of property. So while you don't have to be physically harmed, if he grabbed her in some way, if he shoved her, if he broke something, the hole in the wall, those are all probable cause in most states for getting some kind of a restraining order or have some kind of charges filed. So she could in fact go. And not being hit is fairly common in many relationships where they're not physically hurt. But there are all kinds of controlling tactics and behaviors that the abuser engages in to keep her from getting help, from getting believed, from accessing the resources she needs. So, and he has already exhibited several of those non-violent behaviors, quote unquote, that are keeping her terrified.
Yeah, and to your point about not having to file a police report, we do get the sense that this is, or we know that this is a true story, based on the author's actual experience, and that may have been the case in that state at that time. But I think it's really important if everyone does, walks away with one thing from this video, to know that that is likely changed in your state. And so if you are experiencing abuse, you do not need to file a police report in order to take advantage of services. So yeah, I think that's a really, really good takeaway for people watching this video.
Yeah, the bottom line is, Ashley, and that we try to do at domesticshelters.org, is to encourage people to have a conversation with an advocate. You don't have to go into shelter. It's 24-hour crisis line. You can call and just get information. If you just get information about what's happening to you and what does that look like and what are my resources, you're better informed and you're more able to take steps that may cut out some of this stuff.
And so back to that list of barriers that we were kind of talking through, another one was that she didn't have any family support system to turn to. This could have been a result of isolation by the abuser, or just the fact that she grew up in, a turmoiled situation and is no longer, speaking to her family. But that's a common tactic and leads to be a barrier for people when they're trying to leave.
Yeah, the isolation is really, really a major factor. The financial abuse and the isolation, I think, are two of the most important and impactful obstacles that keep people trapped. And so, not having the friends, not having the family, it's really important that you reach out to an advocate so that you can at least have some kind of a support system.
Yeah. She also doesn't technically have any skills. We sense that she's a smart person. She got into college, she got her GED, all of these things, but she doesn't have any skills. So it's hard to, gain employment. There's a wait list for social services is another barrier. So just simply, once you're reaching out for help, the wait time to actually get that help. And then we hear about she needs a job to qualify for daycare to get a job, which, do these paradoxes exist in social services?
Well, yes, because there were changes made to the temporary assistance for needy family system, and they started work requirements to get this kind of access. And so these kind of work requirements actually make it harder for victims of domestic violence to get away. And advocates all over the country tried to prevent those kinds of things, tried to put in waivers when there was violence present. And sometimes we were successful, I think, in those kinds of rule implementations. But the reality is the work requirements to get assistance often makes it hard for anyone who is in poverty to get out of poverty. It's really frustrating. And the other thing, that you mentioned, I'm not sure she doesn't have skills, because what I saw when she was thinking about what she can do, she's a mother. And she's a pretty decent mother. And so she has organizing skills. She has the ability to manage time. She can work through a frustrated toddler and keep them safe. So she does have skills. She just doesn't have work experience. And that's a different thing. And so one of the things that we hopefully can do as advocates, help survivors understand, is you have the capacity to do good things. It's just you have to reframe how you think about what you're capable of.
How accurate do you think this meeting was?
Well, it happened really quickly, which I think probably isn't particularly accurate. I don't think that that social workers work, employment offices are that accessible, like the next day. So the police officer sees her sleeping in the car, says, go to this place, and that place hasn't, somebody available to actually process their claim or their application. I'm not sure it's that quick. And I know that subsidized housing in most areas of the country, it has a very, very long waiting list. And that has always been true since I've been doing this work, since 1981, trying to get what we called Section 8 housing back in the day. So subsidized housing programs are just overwhelmed with need. And so it's really hard to get any kind of the next day kind of response, even a bad one.
Chuma.
Go put some shrimp on the Barbie, all right?
All right, Alex, enough. Out with it.
Out
with it. You want something from me, so I just ask. What is it?
Can you watch Maddie for an hour? I have a job interview. It'll be 1 hour, 2 max.
Of course. She is my granddaughter. She is always welcome to experience me and be a part of my life.
And do you remember the rules? You gotta use your phone. You gotta use your phone, and you gotta answer the phone when I call you, okay, Mom? Nod that you hear me.
Nod.
And don't drive her anywhere. Do you have any food here? Can you give her lunch?
We're a pub now, are we?
Anything goes wrong, call me. Don't call Sean. Call me.
Come on, Pumpkin Poo.
We'll have her be good girl for Grammy and cilantro, all right? Love you.
The key line here is call me, don't call Sean. What do you think she's afraid of in this moment?
That her mom will get tired, will get distracted, will be interested in doing something else that isn't going to involve the child. And so her best offload is to find somebody who'll come get to get the child. And he would in a second, because having access and custody of that child would then force the mom to come back. So children are often used that way. In domestic violence cases, they're often used as pawns to take control over the mom. So yeah, I think she's worried that she's just going to take the easy out, which is call him and he'll come right away.
Hello.
Hey, Mom, how's it going?
She's a very powerful archetype, a love child. That's what she is. Her spirit resounds.
Did you feed her?
The spirit of my
Mother is in her. She is a very powerful young lady. Our ancestry pulses
through her blood.
Sure does. Did you end up giving her lunch, though?
Of course. Grilled cheese and tomatoes.
with a side of straight Tom Collins, and now we are painting.
Aren't we, sweetie?
Awesome.
We're painting.
Hey, so listen, I got hired, and I'm starting right now.
Gorgeous, like you should see what
She's doing in her hands are like sculptures.
Listen up, I'm starting
right now.
Painting. Oh, honey, it's just so pretty. Her painting.
Okay, it's a 3-hour clean on Fisher Island.
You should see her hands.
Oh, look at your hands.
I'll be back at the ferry at 4:05, and I'll be at yours at 5:30. Does that work?
We love you. Don't we, sweetie?
Yeah, what I'm thinking right now is, boy, she is rolling the dice with the only option she has. And the chances of mom getting, grandma getting tired and offloading the baby before she gets back, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. You can sense it on Alex's face that she's worried. It's a very scary situation. And like you said, it's her only option.
Right.
Only thing she has.
I can see why she felt like it wasn't an option when she was talking to the social worker, because while her mom might love her, she is so distracted by pretty, what she thinks of as pretty, and energy and family power, bloodlines and things like that, that it's just really hard for her to focus on what's really important, which is, I need you to keep my child safe until 4:30 or 5. Can you do that?
Right.
And she's not convinced that she's going to have that outcome.
No phones. You're a half hour late.
I'm sorry.
A half hour late.
I know I didn't have any signal and I missed my turn. I'm sorry about that.
We'll just have to reschedule.
Oh, I can be done by 4, ma'am. I'm fast. I'm good.
I'd really rather you just come back another time than do a shoddy job and throw a bunch of cleaning products around.
I understand. I won't disappoint you.
We're in NYC this weekend, so everything in the fridge can go, so my whole house doesn't smell like kombucha when I get back. Got it?
The fridge, I got it.
We compost. The bin is labeled compost. Can you read, or should I show you?
I can read.
Oh, God. Just put him on. I'll talk to him. Tell him those terms are bullshit.
Okay.
We really get a chance to see how bright and quick thinking that she is in this scene. But later, later in the scene, we see different assumptions about her as well. We'll skip over those. But you hear her say, can you read? And then later on in a scene that we're not going to show, are you a drug addict? How do you think these assumptions are setting back a survivor on their journey to safety?
There are really interesting profiles that people have about survivors, and they don't think they're strong. They don't think they're very smart. They think that that they accept the violence, that they keep going back, and so that must mean something about the survivor and their flaws. And then there's this class issue going on here. So survivors who bump into the class issues have another layer of this veil of a disingenuous representation of who they are to fight through, right? So they're not smart, they're not strong, they're making these choices that are not in their best interest. And when the class issues come in, can you read? Are you a drug addict? Not even giving her the time of day. Just, do what I need you to do. And like, get out of my hair, kind of thing. And this is true, I think, of people who work in janitorial services all over the world. That they're not even seen as human. Sometimes people don't even see them as they're walking through a hotel, or they're, have them cleaning their house. There's not even a recognition of them as a full human being. So she's got a job that already has some layers of weight on them, and then she's got the other obstacles and abuser trying to keep her from succeeding. So she is fighting through it, though. I mean, that where she just kind of stood her ground and said, I can do this, and she managed to keep the job. That was amazing, and she needs to hold on to that.
We're going to skip ahead here a little bit, and just a quick summary of what happens in between. So she finishes the cleaning, and there's a real sense of fear as she's unable to get self-service for the past few hours.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Maddie? Maddie, are you in here? Maddie?
Mom, didn't you hear me calling you? What the fuck?
Calling me? It was me that was calling you many, many times.
Okay, hey, Mom, where's Maddie?
I have a life of my own, you know. I can't be watching children all day. I have work to do, my own work. Okay? Basil, are you in here? Yeah. Basil, open the door! Would like to get in there with them. I see how you act around him. Always flirting with him, sticking your little titties
What the fuck are you talking about,
hoping
Mom?
you'll notice.
Where's Maddie?
Taking a nap. Jesus.
Why can't you be happy for me?
She's not here.
That can still attract a quality man
Okay,
like
okay.
him.
Where is she?
Well, we couldn't reach you, and your mum got tired, so we called Sean to come get her.
You have never seen my potential. I am a siren on the cliff. The sun is towards me. It fills me with light.
What do you think the potential dangers are for Maddie in this situation?
Well, right now, they're not as high as they may be later, depending on if she comes back. If she comes back, then the potential is more for Alex than it is for Maddie at the moment. But Maddie will witness whatever happens. And so there will be trauma to her no matter what, whether she's physically harmed or if she just hears the violence, which she already has, because there's no way she could have not known that that wall punch, it was right outside her bedroom, right? So she would have heard it. And so I don't know what she's going to do, what her steps are right now. Most of the time survivors would go home because they need to be there to protect their child. That's what they're going to see as kind of a buffer between any violence and that. So the danger is just escalated dramatically here.
Yeah, and it's kind of back to this point of the children being used as pawns. I'm sure when Sean received that call, he thought he has all the upper hand because he can now use that against her. The fact that she, in sense, put Maddie in danger by leaving her with an unstable grandparent. So yeah, we'll see where she goes next.
She's fine. She's all right. She's asleep. We did bath time. She had buttered noodles. You hungry? Dinner's almost ready. Irish stew. I haven't had a drink today. Come on. Alex. I'm trying here. Hey.
I'm not staying for dinner. I'm getting Maddie and I'm leaving.
I went to a meeting today. Ethan took me.
Okay, that's...
Could you please sit?
All right, let's make a fucking mess! Huh?
You need to eat. Come on.
Okay. So thankfully, Maddie is safe. She does go back to the house. But there's a sense that Sean is a changed man. He's being a good caretaker, cooking dinner. He's not drinking. Let's talk about how this is all part of an abuser's playbook. After a survivor leaves and they see themselves kind of losing their power and control.
Well, I think what's happening here is that he's going to use whatever strategies he can to regain power, regain control. And so she left, and he wasn't expecting that. So he connects up with his friend. His friend decides, you got to stop drinking, man, because that's being presented as the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is not that he might be using substances. The issue is that he has an ability and a choice to use violence to control somebody else. And whether he's drinking or not, that's going to come out. That's going to happen. She doesn't know that yet. but she sure is worried about that because there's this sense of resignation on her face as she sits down at this table. She didn't forget what happened the night before, but the reality is she did need to eat. She didn't have much money. So I'm hoping that maybe she takes advantage of the food that's there and then books with Maddie after this, but I don't know what's going to happen. So, so everybody is presenting this as, you know, he's not drinking, things are going to be fine. You know, he's making an effort to be a good dad and be responsible. You know, one day, 6 hours is not the measure you need. You know, it will take years of this kind of consistent behavior for me to believe that he's not going to hurt anybody again.
Would you consider this to be a form of love bombing? The term meaning, you know, someone that kind of after an abusive event or really early on in the relationship, kind of just throwing all of their kindness and affection towards someone to get them back under their control. Would you consider this to be a form of that?
I don't think so, because I think that's more in a different kind of environment where I think it's a pattern of building up you know, connections with somebody that are really strong so that they're not going to be able to cut the ties. This is his way of kind of admitting he did something wrong without saying what he did wrong. And so he's going to land on the I was drinking thing, not that I punched the wall, not that I threw something at your head, you know, none of that. It's just that I was drinking, right? And so he's going to leave it on the I was drinking and I went to a meeting and so we're good. And that's the thing. The love bombing thing is, I think, more of a pattern of over time, even whether it's days or weeks, where it's constantly pulling people in with things they love and care about, and flowers, and you know, nice dinners and things like that. This is just him trying to reposition himself to get leverage over her, and because he has the child, that was pretty easy.
So even if Maddie isn't being physically abused, what are the consequences when children witness violence in the home?
Well, any kind of trauma, whether it's actual violence that a child experiences, or whether they witness that trauma, whether you see someone being hurt, or for kids growing up in areas where there's lots of gun violence, seeing people be shot and killed, you don't have to be physically hurt. And for children as young as Maddie in particular, their brains are really, really still in a very formative stage. And so there can be actually neural paths that get created by the kind of trauma and violence that they're experiencing, that makes it harder for them to function as well as an adult and fully function. So, you know, the sooner you can get kids out of a violent environment, away from an abuser, the better they will be to recover and to find strategies and opportunities to be a full and not as you know, damaged person. Because you know, the health issues alone related to growing up in trauma are pretty significant later in life. So so it's important to realize that it's not just being hit. You can see things that happen that are scary and really going to impact the lifelong of a child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Surprised. Maddie was at your mom's. Is Paula finally on meds, or?
She was only supposed to be there a couple hours.
You know how much I love Paula. I do, but, leaving Maddie with her? I thought we had an agreement.
My mom's good with her for short periods of time. They dance around and do art projects.
She was alone when I got there, playing with a vape and watching a cage match on TV. Where were you? Nobody could find you.
Tried to drop on Fisher Island and I didn't have service.
Good job. How are you gonna work? Who's gonna watch Maddie? Not your mom.
I'll figure it out. It's my business, Sean, okay?
Could you eat a little? You're hurting my feelings.
I'm not eating your fucking stew, okay? Stop asking.
All right, you're officially freaking me out. Going AWOL in the middle of the night, leaving my child in a dangerous situation with a batshit crazy person. I mean, are you feeling okay?
That's not funny. Don't do that.
What?
I'm not insane, Sean. You're the one that woke me up in the middle of the night in a rage over some dirty fucking dishes and punched a hole in the
I
wall.
drank too much. I went too far. I went too far. I'm sorry.
I picked glass out of Maddie's hair last night.
I didn't mean for it to be that close to her. Hey, I would never hurt her. You know that.
I don't know that.
You serious right now? Okay, what's the plan here? Where are you gonna go? I pay all the bills. I let you hang out with my friends. I let you move into my trailer. You drink my beer, eat my food. I let you mooch off me. I do everything for you. If you walk out of here, you'll have no one.
I know. I'm well aware of just how completely alone and fucked I am, Sean. But I'm not gonna pick glass out of Maddie's hair again. It's just not gonna happen.
Hey, where are you going?
Daddy!
Hey, Maddie, sweetie. Daddy's right here, okay? Where are you going, Alex? What's the plan here? Okay, why don't you think for just 1 second, okay? Alex, would you please look at me? Alex, why don't you just come back inside?
There you go, honey.
We can
It's
talk
okay.
about this, okay? Where are you gonna go? Hey, you can't steal my kid! Sweetie, Daddy's right here, okay? Daddy's right here. Alex, where are you gonna go? Hey! Alex! Alex!
Why do you think that she made that choice to sit down? She was, very adamant on leaving, but then she did decide to sit down.
I think she needed to develop a plan in her head. Okay, I need to assess where he is, and survivors are so good at figuring out what the danger levels are. I mean, they're really good at understanding their abusers' behaviors and tactics. And so she just wanted to get a sense of what was going on with him and what was in his head. I think so that she could know whether it was safe to leave again. That's what I think was happening. I don't know, but I know that survivors, like, they have this radar that kind of is constantly on, and they're getting information and filtering that information to see where things are headed. And so I think she wanted to get some information about that. She also wanted to think about, what are my next steps? What am I going to do? How do I get Maddie out this door again? And listening to him talk about the blame on everything else and on her and the choices she's made. And so she could just see I went to the meeting thing as it hasn't changed a thing here, and I just need to go now. And she kept remembering what was going on the night before and what little control she had, and that she was, as she said as she walked out the door, not picking glass out of my hair again. So I think that's what was happening in that process.
Yeah. And we see the shift of that calmness to like confrontational and then aggression, as she's driving away.
Right.
He makes her feel bad for Maddie's experience with her mom. He instills hopelessness. How are you going to get to work? Who's going to watch Maddie? Basically shutting her down when she's trying to make this plan. I thought it was interesting when he said, "You're hurting my feelings." Super eye roll at that moment. He's focusing on his own feelings, not even addressing the way that he made her feel the night before.
Yeah, and the my house and my trailer and my child and my
Yes.
money and my food, and it was all about I'm in control here. You're mooching off me. You should be grateful I even let you in, that I'm willing to take care of you. All of this is the mirror pointing outward. This is all about you and how you've made bad choices, and you're the one who's doing this, and nothing about the responsibility that he had the night before. And he continues to go back to I was drinking. Like drinking is the thing that's the problem here, and not that he punched a wall, that he threw something at her. He's just not going to take responsibility for what actually drove her out the door.
Yeah. And we see another really common tactic. We see some gaslighting happening, and way to go, Alex. She is not falling for it. He says, "Are you feeling okay?" And she shuts it down. And that is, I was over here cheering, because that's a really hard one to get past, when an abuser starts to make someone feel as though they're crazy, and they begin, the person begins to question their own reality, because they've been constantly told that they are crazy, that what they're thinking isn't valid.
Yeah, really good point.
In this idea, as she's walking out the door, like you said, she says, "I don't want to pick glass out of Maddie's hair again." And he says, "That I would never hurt her." And her reply is, "I don't know that." I was another cheering moment where I was just like, yes, right. Stay focused, stay the course, because she is strong, and she is, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, even though it seems very, very, very far away.
Yeah. And that she's the only one who can get them there.
I don't know. I need a second, all right? We can't go home right now, okay?
Look, Mommy, look.
All right, I'm gonna take this real quick, honey. Yolanda, the Dyson, I know.
Regina's not happy with your claim.
What?
She called and said you did a crap job on the outdoor furniture. Left a bunch of streaks. You need to go back, do it right.
Window, Mommy. Window.
Yes, honey. Uh-huh.
Mommy.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting it. Nope, I can't. I'm in Port Hampton right now, and I have my daughter with me.
Hey, those are not me problems. You want this job? You want to get paid today? Go back.
It's a 45-minute ferry each way.
Then you better get cracking.
You're flying.
Hold on, all right?
Look, Mommy, look.
We don't have time for this right now, Maddie. Okay, we'll go back and we'll get Schmeriel later, okay? We're gonna get Schmeriel later. Okay, I'm getting Schmeriel right now. I'm getting it right now, okay? All right. Right back.
Whew. Okay. Deep breath here. So it just keeps getting worse and worse. We see in this scene, she isn't getting paid. She has nowhere to go. She has an upset child. And just when we, get this sense, okay, something's going right. She found Schmeriel. We hear that crash. So it's like the saying, when it rains, it pours. Any thoughts on this scene other than it's just so emotional?
Well, when she got out of the car, I started thinking, yeah, they're going to have the car crash, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of what was going. And finding the pieces of Schmeriel, right. not the doll intact. So she's not getting a break anywhere. She's not getting any help from the universe in any way to have this come out in a positive manner for her. So she has no job. Who even knows if she has car insurance, right? We don't know that part, right? So, the only way she can get to work now may be compromised. And her daughter's traumatized by losing something that's really important to them, to her, I mean. And so, wow, it's just stacking up. It's just stacking up on her. And this is the kind of thing that happens to survivors when they try to get away. It just, nothing works well. And I just really wish she'd gotten to a shelter. Because that might have given her some kind of foundation to stand on that was stronger than what she's doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. So I'll set up this next scene. Maddie is safe, but we now learn that Alex has a traffic citation and a tow truck bill, putting her at negative $739.90 to her name, and no car. She collects her belongings and reluctantly calls her father, who picks her up on the side of the road.
So, where to? Port Hampstead? You and Sean still in that single wide?
No, we're not gonna go home.
Oh, okay. Where to then? I mean, I'd invite you back to my house, but it's a school night, and Charlene and the kids,
No, yeah, of course. Maybe, would you mind just dropping us at the ferry station, and I'll have my friend pick us up?
What were you thinking, anyway? Pulled over like that. That's a reckless thing to do. Reminds me of your mother.
Can we just not talk?
Okay.
Would you mind pulling over really quick and letting me run into the dollar store?
The line here that kind of stuck with me is, "We're not going to go home." And even more so his reaction. Well, where to then? Not why, what's going on in your life? And just another indicator that she doesn't have a really strong support system.
Yeah, and that seems to indicate people have some clue about what's going on because they're not surprised.
Yeah.
They're not surprised that she's not going back. So why is that? Unless he's just thinking that she's as flighty as her mother, but how could he think that about her? She's not exhibiting any of those kinds of behaviors. She's not talking the way that her mom was talking. She seems really grounded to me, and is having really normal reactions to the stress and obstacles she's facing. She's not overboard. She's just, opportunity pops up. I can fix one thing in my life that's gone wrong today. I can buy another doll for my daughter. I still have enough money to do that. And so she goes and gets the doll, which means that Maddie actually is gonna not be as traumatized by the whole night's events as would be, because now she's got something that she cares about again. So she's doing everything possible to keep on track, and nobody's helping her right now. Nobody's helping in a way that it has long-term impacts. I mean, little blips of time where her friend opens the door, yes, but then the long-term result is that she's got to leave again, and she can't stay there. Her mom for a minute helped her, but then she got distracted, and so get the kid away from me. I've got things I've got to do. And so her dad's picking her up, but he's not taking her back to his house, right? He's got another family, and so that's more important to him right now than the one family he had previously. So she's not getting a break anywhere along the way, and you know, if she can keep going, if she can keep moving in the right direction, man, the resilience and strength that this woman is showing is just incredible. So, you know, survivors out there, take that to heart. What you are capable of doing under such duress is incredible. So keep at it.
Well, we're going to go ahead and watch through the end. So we'll wrap up and then we'll share kind of some final thoughts.
You, need anything else? No pop?
We're all set. Thanks again.
Bye-bye, honeybee.
No, not tonight. We're just gonna get a little rest in. Wait. Come here, baby girl.
This was in my suit.
Oh, is this your shoe?
This was in my suit.
What the heck?
I put it in my suit.
You fixing my earrings all right?
How do we unclip these?
Well, I got you a surprise. You want to see a surprise? Here. Ta-da! We got Shmuriel. All better.
Announcing the arrival of Ferry 41. Ferry 41 arriving.
Okay, so we close out here. You see kind of the way that Maddie has seemingly been not unfazed, because we know that the trauma that she's experienced is going to affect her in more long term, but just the innocence in her eyes and just the way that she is just excited about seeing a new Shmuriel.
Yeah, she her main goal right now is to make sure she's okay, and it's costing her a lot for that. But she's also gonna keep plugging ahead. She needs to get paid. Okay, so the way I get paid is I have to go back and do this woman's house again. And but what I got really frustrated by is knowing the issues that she was facing. Her dad never offered her money. Didn't even give her, like, you know, a $20 bill or anything. I just there's just no support for this woman, and not in any significant way. Giving her a ride to the ferry was just man, it was so low low on the pole of ways to help somebody. You know, that's frustrating to me to watch that she doesn't have any kind of support from people that should care about her more. So man, the amount of strength that she's exhibiting right at this moment in time is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you kind of watch her in that moment, as she takes the seat on the floor, knowing that that's where they're going to sleep that night, she kind of, looks down as an embarrassment when, people start to get off of the ferry and walk past. And you kind of get this sense of, everyone's dressed nicely, oblivious to what's going on to this person that's sitting with her child on the ground. Either she's completely invisible to them, or they see her and they make specific judgments about why she's sitting there on the ground with a vacuum and cleaning supplies and a backpack, and that all just to kind of point that out. I think that we all, it's kind of common for humans to assume that, they've got it all figured out. You wish that there was a sign over her head that said that, give, $20 will literally change my life right now, and people would help her out. But unfortunately, that's just not the way that things work.
Yeah, and it's not how she works. I mean, she's not asking for help she's not due. And so she's willing to work to take care of herself. And at some point she may get to the place where she's that desperate. But right now she's taking things into her own hands in a way that that will give her the outcome she's in control of and that she wants. So, boy, it's going to be interesting to see how this story goes, and how other people respond to her as she starts to grow.
She's got a tough road ahead. But she's got the right mindset and attitude and just tenacity that she obviously is going to do whatever it takes. Obviously, having Maddie in her arms and having, the goal of keeping her safe is seemingly really driving everything that she's doing. One of the things I want to point about, just kind of in my final thoughts, is, with domestic violence, obviously it's hard to watch for many reasons, but it's hard to watch because in your mind, you would make different decisions when you're looking at it from the outside perspective. You would have done this or you would have done that. And I think what this show does a great job of representing is how messy life really is. Nothing ever is going to go as you plan. There are a million different things that could go wrong, a million different factors that you hadn't considered. And so, one of the things I hope people take away from this is just the complexities of leaving an abusive partner. It's not as easy as just walking away.
The issue of having a child in common really exacerbates the levels of obstacles she's going to face. And people watching this should really understand that it's not just about leaving a bad relationship. It's about leaving somebody who is going to use every tactic and opportunity to undermine, to make sure that they don't succeed, to stalk them, to harass them, to put pressure on them from all the points of connections that she has, keeping her isolated for making the wrong decisions. And so he's committed to making sure that he stays in control. And he's going to use every tactic he has to make sure that works. So most people who just leave a relationship that they aren't comfortable with or don't feel like is healthy for them, don't have somebody constantly focused on trying to figure out how to make you come back or how to gain control over you.
Yeah, they're relentless. We often say with reluctance that abusers are very smart, very cunning, very resourceful, and that's not to give them any credit whatsoever, but that's what people are up against when they are, in a situation where they're on the receiving end of their abuse.
Absolutely.
Well, any other final thoughts? I mean, I think we've really hit on some of the highlights of what misconceptions about domestic violence, but anything else that you think, you really want people to walk away with after watching this, commentary video, but also the full series?
Well, I'm hoping that what people start to recognize is the resilience and creativity and flexibility that survivors have. They're really amazing to be able to get away and to stay away. So don't ever underestimate a survivor. They are really focused on succeeding And sometimes they have to use tactics that look crazy to you from the outside, but the goal is to get to the other side of the violence. And I am always in awe of how successful so many of the victims were in their efforts to get away from somebody who was particularly dangerous and particularly manipulative.
We'll just wrap things up here then. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope that you learned something about domestic violence that will help you, either yourself, if you happen to experience abuse in your life, or help you to help someone else that you love that's experiencing abuse. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to receive more content like this. And one of the best ways that you can support victims and survivors of abuse is to just understand what the signs of abuse are and how to get help. So as always, if you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, help is out there. To find a domestic violence advocate who can help you find a way to safety, visit domesticshelters.org/help to search by your location for a local domestic violence program. Thank you for tuning in.